All right, everybody. So welcome to another video game live. So we tried to name it this time because last it was just a video game live. So we're going with Near Mint Power Up. And let us know if you like that. If you don't, let us know too. We'll just kind of work it out. But today we are joined with, of course, me and Tina are here. And we have a special guest, our friend Matt, a.k.a. Too Mellow. So for those of you guys who don't know, Matt is the one behind our theme song too. So
yeah, it's my first time engaging with the channel in any way beyond that, I guess.
Which is great.
Well, I hope this is the first of many. Come hang out with us.
Mm-hmm.
So we're here to talk video games and what we've been playing. And honestly, I was a little nervous today because I really thought I'd play something else besides Final Fantasy XIV this past month, but it's been mostly that. And then like little snippets of Fire Emblem Three Houses, which seems to be what the trend is.
Which I'm out of the trend. Sorry, I was working on cosplay this entire month, so my apologies. I did not play anything new. Although I'm getting back to nunnery, so I still need to do virtual virtues.
Oh my gosh, yes, Virtue's Last Reward.
Yeah.
Matt, you played those, right?
Yeah. Enjoy that 30-hour visual novel / puzzle game. It's like the longest game.
Right up my alley.
But it's really good.
So good. Yeah, for those of you at home, like the nonary games, which is 999, Virtue's Last Reward, and
Zero Time Limit.
Zero Time Dilemma.
Oh, there you go. God dang it.
Man, that honestly, if you've never played it, I really recommend it. There's some HD or there's collections out now where you just buy the three of them together.
The nonary games collection.
Mm-hmm.
It's so worth it. It used to be kind of hard to get copies of them because they were portable, but now you can play them on your, I think, PS3 or PS4. Yeah, that's it. That's the thing. Secret Way Out. It's one of them. But yeah, like it's honestly, it's so good and so worth it. I remember like playing through those and not stopping. Basically, I played like Danganronpa 3. And then started the nonary games, and then just only played the nonary games for, I guess, a month until I was done with them.
A month straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good if you can do that because they're very contiguous.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I definitely recommend playing them that way. Like they're just really addictive. And I think for people who play other like visual novel puzzle games, like something like Danganronpa or Phoenix Wright, those kind of type of games, you're
gonna like it.
Those. Oh yeah. And I'm still thinking about it. Like for a while, it's like I honed in on it, but I'm very much like I play a thing I like and I get obsessed with it until I'm done.
Right. Consume.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Matt, what have you been? What have you been playing? I know you've been playing the same two things I have.
Yeah, I'll start with that. We found out when you asked me to do this that I had out of nowhere never play MMOs or anything, but I had also started Final Fantasy XIV recently because people with the new expansion, everyone there's like
is raving about it.
Yeah, there's a meme on Twitter of like showing the first release of it, the one that didn't work out with like a really low Metacritic score, and then all the other ones are like very high. It's like the ultimate redemption story or something like that. Like all the expansions are universally loved. I just kept hearing it was like the one of the best RPGs out right now, and it's like that's my favorite genre supposedly, even though I don't play it anymore. So I decided to jump in, and it's been nice. Like I think 18 or 19 levels. MMOs turns out they're super chill.
Yeah, it's honestly really relaxing. Like
the menu didn't scare you when you logged on and it was like, bam, what's this bullshit?
I heard it was like really hard to start an account, but I didn't have any trouble. Yeah.
Okay.
And I had already been prepped on like servers and worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've heard about that before. I don't understand. I don't know. Like, is it essentially impossible to get from a server, or is it like going from Brooklyn to Manhattan?
Just switch.
Just hard, and you don't want to do it.
Oh no, I think some of them are so full that you can't join in. So like I have a lot of friends on Ballmonk. And that server was just really hard to get into. And so they were like, oh, nobody can make a new account or switch over.
Yeah.
I think they periodically close down servers too. So if they get overwhelmed, they do close servers for a period. I think they do open them back up, but it takes a while.
Yeah, the first time I played, the one I was supposed to enter to play with friends was Goblin on Crystal, and I had to wait until like I think it was like 10 or 11 p.m. that it opened up. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I started to count. I was like, I'll see what's up with this game for an hour or so. Played for like 4 hours until 3
it gets you
a.m.
right away.
Yeah.
It's wild. Well, and like in the beginning, I know a lot of people complain about how slow that first arc can be. I know that they're switching it up soon, so that way, like the big news is that like they're going to change A Realm Reborn, which is the first main story arc, and then make it a lot shorter because there's a lot of extra fluff. There's a lot of fetch quests. Sometimes you're like, oh, I just saved the world, and you want me to go make soup now. Okay, but they're trying to trim off the fat, which, too bad a lot of us are playing now, so we'll make it through before that.
It's what, I'm gonna really take my time with it. I have the free trial.
Recommend it.
I have the free trial, so like there's no like ticking time right now, and I'm gonna wait until a time where I don't have like a Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Because that's really the main thing right now, which I guess might as well segue that I am a Black Eagle.
I was gonna say, which house?
Oh, okay.
I chose Black Eagle. Like, this freaking game doesn't give you any time to choose like what house you're gonna be.
It doesn't really.
I don't know if this gave you anxiety, but like literally in the first hour and a half, they're just like, all right, choose your house. After you get like a 2-line description of every person, they're like, all right, the big, huge thing that's going to happen, going to make the whole game different. Do it right away. And as it turns out, like talking to other people, this game is meant to be played like 3 times. And so it's thinking more like, oh, these are the acts or whatever.
Yeah.
But I picked Black Eagles because I was nervous about the recruiting stuff, and I knew for sure that I wanted to see how Bernadetta's story went, because I'm really intrigued by characters like that, and how they're going to handle that kind of character. Because I'm very similar to Bernadetta myself. And it's been good, but the recruiting turned out to be not as intense as I thought, because now I've recruited like way too many people.
Yeah, it's so chill. It reminds me of being like at a convention where you make some friends and like, oh wow, this is going a lot quicker than I thought. Like, oh shit, I have too many. How do I coordinate my time?
How do I
see everybody? Friends? Do I have too many? Can I handle that? Like, how can they depend on me?
It's like someone, they all played Persona, and they took I guess I have trauma from the Persona games, because when I see a game that has time management, I'm like, oh fuck.
Oh yeah.
I love time management games. Those are right up my alley.
You would really like Fire Emblem.
I mean, I like tedious games. So.
Well, the downside to this, though, I think, for me anyways, is that I can't plan my everyday.
Oh.
You don't live through every day, and you can't just say, okay, well, today I do this and this. It's like, okay.
Is it a weekly or monthly?
It's weekendly. Yeah. You can only control the weekends.
Okay.
It's kind of weird. I don't
know.
It
is weird. It's like a light version of the Persona stuff, and you have more time than you are accustomed to having.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, one second. Nicholas is asking what the thing is in my background. It's my pachinko machine. It's a Rose of Versailles pachinko machine.
Which,
we talked about it last show too.
There are definitely some Rose of Versailles-esque characters in Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Like all the archetypes are like from old anime. It's great.
Yeah, and I dig it. And the only thing I'm a little upset about is that there's some people that were presented to me that aren't dating options for my character.
Yeah.
And I'm very offended because I like Claude. I think I'm going to go after Claude. Where I'm a golden deer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No one's surprised.
No.
Mm-hmm.
But like a couple of like really cool armored ladies were introduced to me, and I can't romance them. It's like, really? Are you sure? I mean, that girl's bisexual, and I can't. It's obvious. But I do. I don't know if you guys have seen it on Twitter, but like a lot of people are super into the guard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
just the nameless, really nice guard.
Yeah, the guard that has a really good voice actor. Yeah. I like Shamir. She's not a dating option for maybe for anyone. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very ridiculous that Claude is not a dating option for the guy Byleth. because he's just so charismatic. It's no wonder that everyone chose Golden Deer, really, and I understood that, and I think that's why I did like the Devil's Advocate option. It's like everyone's gonna choose Claude. Come on, none of these other people are interested in it at all.
Well, I'm interested in the others. I'm just like, what are you hiding? And I wasn't as interested until because I haven't gotten to the time skip. But once I saw some of the art from the characters from this time skip, I was like, oh wait, now I'm kind of interested in some of these other characters. And I won't spoil anything, but like everyone gets way more attractive and interesting when the
everyone gets way more attractive.
I'm like, oh, okay.
I think in the first half of the game, I definitely felt a little weird about like choosing any of these characters as a romance option because you can't really choose any of the adults.
Yeah, because you're a teacher. It's
a lot
like
of these
power role.
Yeah, a lot of these students, they're kids. They look like kids.
They're 18, right?
I don't think so. It's just like a high school. And they try to tell you that you're on the same age, but you are their teacher. So it's still a very weird power dynamic.
And you don't actually do any romance stuff. You make some cheesy promise or something. But
when you get old enough.
Basically.
It's like this like Persona 3 with Ken.
Yeah. You do that.
They pull out the promise rings. They're like, here you go.
And I was very careful to not be spoiled on any time skip imagery or whatever. And when I got there, I was like, okay.
Nice.
Okay, everybody's hot. Everybody is hot in different ways.
It makes it a lot better. Oh, real quick. Nicholas is asking, are we talking specific consoles, games, or all? Basically anything.
Yeah.
This is just our,
all above.
This is our excuse to have a monthly thing where we get together and talk about what we're playing. And then see what everybody else is playing and just talk about it. Because before we didn't have like a regular video game content. So this is us kind of starting that out. Like before, Rob would talk about what he's been buying, but we always joke to Rob and Omar
because they never play it.
They never play anything. They just talk about like what they bought, and that's fine too. But this is our way to like talk about what we're playing. Nocturne was asking where all the dude options are in FE. I don't even. Is there anything? I know the girls have a few, but like, what are the dude options?
Yeah, there are. I haven't looked them up at all. To see what it is. But there's basically a moment in the game where it shows you what's up. It's just like, here's a freaking list. Pick one. It's like, all right, I guess Shamir's not on this list, so I don't know what to do.
Yeah, because I've looked through. I know that it's anybody who can have an S support with. Okay. But it's different from the other games where like if you guys have if people watching have played Awakening or these earlier Fire Emblem games, you're not hooking up your students. You're not like a matchmaker.
Yeah, those were about that.
Yeah,
this one is just still has that as like a vestigial thing, I guess.
Nicholas said he's looking for advice, wanting to get a PS4, but after any advice for buying one, what's the best console, good games for it, etc. I mean, the PS4 is a good choice. I think that's my top choice as far as console.
Right. That's mine top too. I wish I had gone with a larger. So I got a 500. I wish I'd gone for a Tera. That was my mistake.
Yeah,
I wish I had gone for 4K.
PS4, like I think the PS5 or whatever is next is getting announced next year. But the PS4,
close.
The PS4 has like 5 years of extremely good games on it right now. So and they're probably all like super cheap. So.
It's got a good library too, downloadable, and if you are a physical collector, it's got a lot of good physical content across like multiple genres. So,
and if you play RPGs, like Sony continues just to be the one for me. Like, as far as like, I like to play RPGs, and I like to play a lot of Japanese games. I like to play horror video games. And that's basically what the system is for me, because I've been playing Switch a lot more the past few months, but the library for that's still very small.
It is small. So I will say about the Switch, and I was going to speak about this because I forgot last time. For the Switch, I've really loved. I'm really big into indie games. I picked up Opus. Have you guys heard about Opus? Like The Day We Found Earth. And then there's a companion piece, which is Rocket of Whispers. So it's sort of an indie game. And the first one, The Day We Found Earth. So talking about how I love tedious games. So it's a big star map. You start out as this scientist with a robot, and you're looking because humankind has left Earth long and long and long ago. And apparently the genetics of humans are breaking down. So they've got to go back to Earth to try to find genes or genetics to help save themselves. And they're looking for, in the star field, Earth or as close as possible. And so you're looking at these little pinpoints and you get sort of hints where things are, and you've got to find a star, and then it leads to the next one and leads to the next one. Well, as you're unlocking these star fields, you're also unlocking more of the story, because this is really kind of a flashback, but you don't realize it at the start. And it gets really deep. Like at first you're like, oh, this is kind of tedious, I'm finding star maps, but then it starts getting deep, and I was, no lie, like bawling at the end. Because you find out that, some serious stuff happened, and it's been years and years. And I don't want to spoil it. I'd say it's a good gameplay for a couple hours. For the price, it wasn't bad. The second one it kind of focuses on another planet. It's in the same sort of timeline, and people have experienced a plague on this other planet. And it's about two survivors in this plague-ridden world. And the whole mythos is that other people who have died of this plague, their spirits and souls are trapped on the planet with you, and they just want to be shot up into space to be released. And so they're bothering you, and you've got to do these missions to go find elements of them and go try to build this rocket ship to go release them.
Yeah, it sounds great. Any game that's made me cry, I'm in.
Yeah, both of them made me cry. The second one, I think it's a little less so, but the first one, I think the storyline was very poignant.
I have an indie game I can talk about.
Let's do it.
I got two actually, but I've been like most of this year was like I wasn't into the stuff that was coming out until now. So I was just catching up on the backlog or sale stuff, and I played a game called Even the Ocean. It is for PC. I just checked it to make sure if it was on anything else. By a company called Analgesic Productions, or Analgesic, I don't know how to say that word, who is like, they just released a game last week called Anodyne 2, sequel to Anodyne, which was their first game. They're known for like taking recognizable older game styles like Zelda or Metroid and making like a way more thoughtful, surreal, interesting take on it. It's like people joke about the puzzle game Braid being like edgy, dark Mario or something, like depressed Mario.
Mario, yeah.
But like Anodyne and Even the Ocean are like seriously depressed Zelda, but in the best way. Even the Ocean is a puzzle platformer, where you are a character who is tasked with going across the world and doing various things at these power plants that power this huge like utopian city. So you go out to the power plant. It's super dangerous. There's always a risk of like death, but you just shrug it off. And the gameplay involves you using these two forms of energy. One is purple and one is it's green and purple. And the way that your life bar works is that you have like a green side and a purple side, and you're in the middle at first. But as you pick up green or purple stuff, you'll go to one end. And if you pick up too much of it, you die either way, like too much green or too much purple. But if you get more purple, you go faster horizontally. You can like run faster. And if you get more green, you can jump higher. So it's optional, but it behooves you. If you're doing the platforming and you're having trouble, you can like stay on one end of the green or purple, but it's risky too, because it's closer to death, and that's really cool. And there are several ways that it switches that up throughout. But the real draw for me was the story. You're doing these power plant jobs for this extremely suspicious town hall guy, like this really creepy mayor, and you just know something's up with him. Every time you go back and do your job, you go to like this beautiful sparkling city center and like report to him, and then you come back to your like shitty house underneath. Like you have to take an entire different like train station to go to your shitty house, and you're living.
It's too real, meta.
It's so this game is extremely real throughout. It has interesting gender stuff in it. It has like interesting stuff about capitalism and environmentalism is the main thrust of the game. Like you're running these power plants, but it's clearly killing the world. Throughout the game, it's just all about environmentalism. It's very relevant. But it came out in 2016, but let me tell you, it basically feels like it could have come out yesterday.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's kind of sad that people missed out on it because I feel like it does a lot of things that people request of games pretty often. I guess just casually. It's really good. Anodyne is also really good, but Even the Ocean has been my favorite from them.
Which system?
It's on
or
PC,
is it Steam?
PC and Mac.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about this at all, so I'm really glad that you recommended it.
It's good.
I miss out on a lot of like indie games. Like it's always basically word of mouth from friends. If I
had heard about it. I heard about it when it came out, but I just now got to it, I guess, and it was a really pleasant surprise. It's like 4 or 5 hours. It's also pretty sad, but it has a good message. It has a good message.
I'm adding it to my Steam list right now.
I also played a game called Unavowed, which it was made by a company known for point-and-click adventure games of like the Monkey Island style, but in the modern era.
That's right up Maddie's alley.
They make the like Blackwell series and a game called. Well, they publish a lot of these. Like it seems like they just look for people who are making pixel adventure games and publish them for them. But this game was one of the only games from the creator of the studio rather than just something they take on from someone else. It is a urban fantasy, like what's it called? Fantasy realism or something like that. What's this genre called?
I don't know. There's a word.
My wife would know.
By the way, Nocturne said that you have the most calming ass voice.
Yeah,
I agree.
Thank you.
The minute you started out, I was like, oh, that's well.
I've always had this.
I know, but
certain microphones don't pick it up.
You've got this ambiance right now.
Yeah,
with like these cooler tones. I feel like you're about to like play me some really soft tunes, some like lo-fi, and just like,
I have an acoustic guitar over here.
It's too mellow. It's 1 a.m. Are you still up? Lovers, send in your I don't know, like you're. I feel like there could be a cool anime based on you, where you just people are sending you their late night thoughts.
There's nothing makes me happier than to know that I've become that character.
Yeah, I like it.
I feel like I've been casually trying, or without laying it on too thick, to become a late night DJ.
I mean, you could be the Nightcrawler from Forever Night. Maddie, you need to watch that.
Oh,
I mean, that's what he does. Even the same sort of lighting.
We do need to do that.
Have you guys played, speaking of indie, and I'm going to mispronounce this, it's the GRIS?
I haven't played that yet.
Oh, was that the...
So it's basically kind of speaking about, it's like if you could put loss and the stages of grief and overcoming into like a visual game, that's essentially what it is. Like
that Switch game.
It's a Switch game.
Dying to play this.
Really
I saw the trailer for it, I think when it first got announced or whatever, and I was like, this looks amazing. I still have not picked it up. It looks so beautiful. There was a lot of hype around it. Or maybe it's just me creating hype from seeing the trailer, but in my mind, I loved it. There's a lot of hype around Chris.
I do admit I need to go back and replay some of it because it's one of those games that kind of drops you in. It gives you a few hints of how the controls are, and it's kind of nice picking up and learning as you go. But I didn't unlock all parts of the puzzles, and certain areas are a little different. So it kind of does some things where you've got to learn. Which is nice, where it flips the world upside down, but you go through like water to kind of flip the world. So you've got to get high enough, and you've got to unlock these pedals to jump, and it's very cyclical. So you kind of come back to a starting point and you slowly kind of unlock little creatures or little friends, and you gain colors, which adds to the world. So you can kind of go back and you add more color to the world. So I really like that aspect of the game, which is just drop you in, give you a few hints on how the game's played, but they don't hold your hand.
Well, I appreciate these games that are doing more with like exploring mental illness and seeing how that kind of can be represented in games and art, and especially games like this where it's really therapeutic for me to play games like this where I see this person going through something and seeing them kind of find their way through it. Mm-hmm. And I love when your environment interacts with you and kind of it gives that extra layer of what it feels like to go through and accomplish things. It reminds me of Journey. Not that Journey has anything added into that, but every time I play another game that's like this, I'm like, oh, it reminds me of how I feel playing Journey.
Right. The very first time. I mean, I won't ever get that like existential experience again playing Journey, but that first time, like the guy that I partnered with on it was like some Welsh guy at like 1 a.m, but like I was like crying and I was like, I hope he's one of the people that reaches out to. No, he didn't. But I was just like, I was like crying. I was like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, you have an option to like add people as friends after you play with them, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
I only ever did it the one time.
Just the one.
That's fine. It's hard. It's hard because once you play it for the first time, you're not going to get that same feeling back.
No.
It just felt appropriate. Like there's not a lot of games I feel that way with, but it just felt like I was supposed to do it once.
Yeah.
Man. I remember after playing that, I was like, this is the kind of game that I feel like like world leaders should play with each other. Like everyone should play Journey.
Everybody.
I really feel that way. I really do. I really think like it's not something that there's a lot in the way for people to like figure out. I think it's a pretty easy learning curve, and it's beautiful, and it's in the way that you interact with somebody else that you can't communicate with. Mm-hmm. As a linguist, that's really wonderful to me.
People have this weird grudge with Roger Ebert because like in the mid 2000s or something, he said that he didn't consider video games like an artistic medium.
Oh yeah.
But people still bring it up, like this weird beef, one-sided beef with the passed away Roger Ebert about video games legitimacy as art, which they're art. We can chill about that, but the thing people don't remember or never like knew is that he played Journey and Shadow of the Colossus, and he wrote something like, "All right, never mind."
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
A lot of people didn't know that he ended up playing some games and like taking it back.
I mean, those would be the two that would do it.
Right. Yeah, he picked some really good ones.
Yeah.
I thought of my genre name. It's magical realism.
Magical realism. Okay.
And urban fantasy, I guess.
I like that. It just sounds nice. It sounds very attractive to me.
Yeah, it is. This game is set in, I want to say probably like 90s New York City, and it really, really feels like New York City. That's where the person who made the game lives. It has like a really nice jazz soundtrack, and like it's usually nighttime and everything looks pretty nice. You play as someone who's recently been possessed by a demon, and you got snapped out of it, and you join the Unavowed, which is this magical underground cult that like basically, or not cult, sorry, the group that goes around and like solves supernatural mysteries or problems. Like, oh, we heard about this weird happening in this part of a neighborhood, like a house burned down. We think there might be a ghost or a demon or something. So you join them and you kind of just tag along and help them solve things. And you do that because your demon caused a lot of trouble for them all across the city. And they're like, not only did you kind of sort of do all this, but you're going to come help us clean it up, and then we'll figure out what happened. So every time you go to one of these crime scenes or whatever where something horrible has happened, it's like something you did, your character. So you have a moment where like you're able to flash back to what happened, and you play as your demon self, and you give like really mean, horrible dialogue options to these characters, like, no, I want you to set yourself on fire or something like that.
Yeah.
So you see your character causing the incident that you are now solving as yourself. The game has a lot of wrinkles. The other thing is, the most interesting like gameplay thing for it is that you can choose the members of this group, there's like 5 or 6 of them. You can choose who you bring along on the mission. So, and they all have different abilities. So it kind of expands the adventure game thing by giving you, like, for example, someone can read notes that have been burned. It's like very specific, but like things. It's called fire reading. He can read things that were like burned and hidden away, so no one wanted them to be found. So if you have a problem in a stage and you have him with you, you can think like, is there anything that was burned? And there's someone else who's like really good at like physically climbing stuff. So if there's anything you can get to, you're basically looking around for anything that the characters you have with you can solve.
Yeah.
And you occasionally see things in the game. It's like, oh, this would be so much easier if I had blank, but I got to find some other way around it. And it makes it really good as an adventure game because you're not looking for some silly solution that like has like ridiculous puzzle logic. Like you always pretty much know what you have to do. It's just a matter of like, what do I do with these characters that I have in order to accomplish
what's a creative way? I like that too because it almost sounds like the kind of thing you run into playing like a role-playing game, like a tabletop role-playing game.
Oh yeah.
Where like you're at a certain stage, everybody has certain skills they're good at, but you need to figure out how to do it with them.
How to utilize those skills in that time.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, and I feel like the amount of options written into the game actually make it just easier and better. It feels like an evolution of adventure games because you're not limited to exactly what they wanted you to do. They had to open it up. There's really good voice acting, really good music. It just feels like a very like enveloping and calming experience, and it's one of the better written games I've played in a while. It's like 8 hours.
Unavowed, right?
Unavowed. Okay. Is this sort of like a side scroller adventure, or is it more like a King's Quest?
It is a what do you mean? It's there's like 2-dimensional environments that you click around and you move your character around.
So it's more of a King's Quest. So did you ever play King's Quest?
Monkey Island 2.
Okay, Monkey Island 2.
Yeah, it's like those. I didn't ever play any of the King's Quest or Space Quest, so I didn't know like what format they were in.
My wife played King's Quest. I played Space Quest.
It is one of those.
You need to play Monkey Island.
They're so annoying back in the day. Like literally, like I know my wife talked about the desert in King's Quest, where you go like one step, you make one wrong choice, you go one step too far, and you're dead of thirst. And you're like,
King's Quest is a little brutal.
Crap.
Yeah, I think like the thing that LucasArts wanted to do with Maniac
they were
Mansion,
great. I loved them.
Day of the Tentacle. They wanted to make it so you like took out death, right? So what didn't feel so punishing or ridiculous, I think.
Was Maniac Mansion the one where like the kid threw the maybe I'm thinking about another game, but he threw his hamster in the microwave?
That sounds right.
Yeah,
I think that's from.
Yeah, I vaguely remember playing it. It's been a while.
No, but this sounds great. I'm looking at the art right now, and like it seems very much on like my kind of style. Yeah. Which I love point and click. Like people, there's so much push all the time. Which I mean, there's so much push all the time for like the newest thing and changing the genre and everything else. But I do appreciate that there's these pockets of people and developers right now that are just looking at kind of going back to like the retro style games, but change them a little bit to make them a little more nuanced and with today's like
themes.
Modern feelings and themes. Yeah. And it's really nice. And I really appreciate it. I appreciate that people still see the value in older styles of games. You know, I appreciate when there's RPGs coming out that are still turn-based. Not that I need them to be. Not that I need everything to be the same way it was.
It makes me mad when people say turn-based is dead.
Turn-based and pixelated like point-and-click adventure games are still happening. It's still coming out, and they're still great, and that's awesome.
Yeah, the best thing about pixel stuff, I guess, well, there was an era, right, with like the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation 1 where like everyone was, get out of here with pixels. That looks old now. We're moving on to 3D. And 3D is fine and all, but pixels were getting really good around the time that the industry dumped them. But the good thing is that with indie games and like Minecraft and like basically older people making games that have that style, you can show like a Super Nintendo game to a kid right now, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, it's a video game."
Yeah.
They don't have any of that like, "Ugh, it doesn't look 3D" or whatever. Like they just will accept pretty much any game at this point. It doesn't matter how old something looks.
And the older pixelated stuff, I mean, ages well too. Like I feel like a lot of the older like sprites and things age a lot better than those 3D games. Because going back now to a lot of older RPGs I played, I think they're very accessible. They still look very good. You know, like I'm playing through all the Final Fantasies. All the Final Fantasies still look really good. I'm saying all of them, not all of them do look good, but six still looks great.
I mean, look at Symphony of the Night.
Chrono Trigger doesn't need to change. It looks really good,
right?
Yeah, Chrono Trigger does look really good. I think about like Link to the Past, something that like you see it right now today, and you're just like, oh yeah, I want to play that. It looks like it moves really well. It looks fun.
Speaking of Zelda, that remake of what Link's Awakening. Is that what's coming out next month?
Yeah, the weird one.
The weird one. I think it looks really good.
No, Link's Awakening is like the weird Zelda game because it was inspired by Twin Peaks and
what?
Yeah.
That's not true. That's not real.
Yes, they
I've never heard that.
When they were making Link's Awakening, they wanted to take Zelda to a really weird place. They had room to experiment. So one of the things they say really inspired them at the time was Twin Peaks. They were watching it. It was like a sensation in the early 90s. It was super popular. Everyone across the world was like, I have to know who killed Laura Palmer. And apparently that extended to Japan.
That's crazy. I didn't even know.
No,
I mean, it makes sense because of, I guess I never thought about Twin Peaks being popular in Japan, which I shouldn't realize. It was super popular. Because of, what's it? The game that we both like. FK and
Deadly Premonition.
Deadly Premonition.
Yeah, and like the cast of Twin Peaks visited Japan and were like in magazines and stuff. Everyone was super hyped about it. Like Bob, the like dream killer character from Twin Peaks, that guy went to Japan. There's like videos of him like surrounded by people who are just super hyped out of their minds to see him.
Man, you're blowing my mind.
Yeah, and people from Japan came to do a documentary in the town where Twin Peaks was based on, apparently. So yeah, it was not that far of a stretch to think that like in the early 90s, people could have been inspired by it making video games. But apparently, Nintendo says that it's still going to be weird in this new one. Like that stuff will be intact. They won't just be making a normal Zelda game. So everyone is kind of thinking that they're really going to do something super weird to make it like not just playing the same game again. So everyone's thinking it's gonna
It's been my first time. I think I technically owned it. I think my mom got me a Game Boy Pocket.
Okay.
And so I had the game, but I didn't really play it. This is my first time. Luckily, not my first time playing a Zelda game. I finally fixed that and played Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. That's actually, that's actually the weirdest Zelda game. I take it back.
Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, totally.
Why? Because it's like more open world and...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just different. I haven't played a lot of the 3D ones, but...
yeah.
Link's Awakening is only different in tone. And
now I want to do a show just on video games inspired by Twin Peaks. Let's have some.
Would we have a lot of them?
No.
There's more than you think because a lot of them are probably like indie games that you would have to dig.
Yeah,
to find
that's
out.
True.
And if you want to talk about the things that have been inspired by Twin Peaks to the extent where it's like a mystery in a town,
like Gravity Falls,
Alan Wake,
everything, Silent Hill, Alan Wake, a lot of horror to some extent has been inspired by it, even though Twin Peaks itself is like such a weird thing that only stays in that horror space for like a third of its runtime.
Yeah. You're right. The first thing on the list is Link's Awakening. What is this life? That's so weird. Man, looking at this list, that makes me want to go play some more. Like, I don't know.
It's getting to be that time.
I want to do I really like to do a Silent Hill run, and I don't know if it's worth like streaming or just doing a video about after the fact. But I want to like really go hard on it.
When you start playing Invite Me Over, I just can't play horror games because I get too freaked when it's me, because that's me in the game. And I mean, I would just lose my shit if I saw a monster coming after me. I'd just be like, white girl running.
I can play that one at least. So Silent Hill I can play. Fatal Frame is a little too much for me. I really enjoy watching it, and I want to be cool enough to play through it, but I get so spooked.
I'm going to attempt it again, so maybe I can attempt it at your house.
Please, please.
Oh, I want to play the second one.
Yes, I have got it. I mean, now it's digital, right? So it doesn't matter. But like,
yeah,
I have a PS2 copy.
Mm-hmm.
But
I heard 3 wasn't as worth playing as the first 2, so there's that.
But if you do, I can hold the walkthrough.
I mean, I'll be right there with you. I love watching horror movies. So my dynamic with my brother was always, he would be playing and I would help him out. I'd be like, you know, you've got a monster at your 12. You watch out. You need to run.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it seems like that's how a lot of people played horror games. So that's
it was too spooky.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting to see Matt finish that Siren Blood Curse.
I watched a video.
Is that the one with the bugs?
Yeah, the flying bug people.
Yeah,
it's weird.
The Shibitos. I watched a video series of the first Siren being played through all the way, and the person playing kept saying like, this game is unfairly hard and obtuse, but he's just an extreme fan of it, and wanted to show people like why he thinks it's unique, because it's basically I think it's the person who directed the first Silent Hill going on and doing their own thing. Like, this is where I really wanted to take the series. So as Silent Hill moved on to 2, one of the best horror game of all time, this guy was like, I'm gonna make Siren.
God.
Which I'm extremely dissing Siren. People love it.
I want to. I just don't think it's good.
The problem I had with Blood Curse was like the frame rate and just the playability of the whole thing. Like, if you don't do exactly what this game wants you to do at any time, you're dead. And that's how it is. It's not like playable in just like let's sit down and play this way. You have to know what to do. And it's so frustrating.
And it's not like the story makes it worth it enough. Because, like, there's a lot of bad horror games, but the stories are neat. Like, Rule of Rose, I wouldn't say is playable. But the story is so gripping that you want to keep up with it. It's so creepy. And the tone of it's so great. And a game is not fun to play. But you just want to keep up with it. And same with, like, well, for me, it's not fun to play. Haunting Ground and Clock Tower, like, I love the stories of those. I love the ambiance. I used to read like Haunting Ground fan fiction in high school. Like, now I hate playing them because I get very scared and I can't. You have no power, which is what makes it scary, of course.
Right.
You have to, hide under benches, and everyone's really creepy to you, like sexually very creepy to you, and it's hard to play. But man, it's so good. It's just playing it. It's difficult.
In the first Siren, actually, not Blood Curse, the one that we played, the cutscenes are just like whatever. It's 3D models. But in the first Siren for the PS2, they did this thing where they took photographs of people from every angle of their face, and they mapped these creepy faces onto the characters. So the cutscenes, to me anyway, look amazing. Like, they're so... It looks like stop motion animation with real faces. Like, if you just look up a Siren cutscene, they look incredible, in my opinion. So that actually did make it worth at least watching this video.
I'm going to go ahead and put that on one of my tabs so I remember looking at it.
Yeah, just a cutscene from the first Siren game. And there are some...
Maybe this October, we just need to, we all need to just go all in.
The main...
So spooky games. I can maybe do Layers of Fear again, but... That's about as spooky as I get.
Well, luckily, Silent Hill can be my,
You can just be like, oh, I'll volunteer to play Silent Hill.
Anytime.
I'll do the hard one.
Well, I'll play, the first 4. And then we can talk about it. But if anyone makes me play Shattered Memories, I'm not going to do it. But we can play it, and I can tell you guys all about, like all the weird symbolism.
I've been learning. So I've been studying Silent Hill for the past like 2 years because I'm gonna do a tribute album. So I've been watching the games being played again, and like taking notes on like the different ways the like idea of what Silent Hill was changed throughout the series.
You're like speaking my language right now. I'm like, okay, this is great. In high school, or middle school and high school, I used to be on all the Silent Hill boards.
Yeah,
and like man, what a vibrant fan base! Like they all made their own fun music and everything. Like awesome people. Like
yeah, I think you kind of kicked this off for me. It was like, hey, this is not just one good game, but it's like a series that people love. So.
Oh yeah, and just like the way it evolved, and it's all of its lore and everything. It's a community of very dedicated fans, as with most of Konami's things. Like they really produced.
They produced
a very dedicated fans, which they then crushed and threw in the garbage. But because even with PT, I was like, God, this is it. This is.
Yeah, I still think about it. I remember like seeing you the day it was announced or whatever, and talking about it. It's like, yeah, Yamaoka's back too. Everything's happening. Of course, he would be back.
I know.
He's the one who's always like first. It's like, yeah, because he continued to work on the bad ones.
And it's not good without him. And then I still like Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, who does like the vocals, who I'm so in love with. And she does a lot of other voice acting stuff too. Like she's big in Critical Role. A lot of people know her from that. Anytime I see her at a con and they don't mention that first, I'm like, what are you? Or at all? Usually, I'm like, what are you?
What are you doing?
She's the singer of Silent Hill. Also, they brought her in to do voice Maria and the remake, like the revoicing, which was a great choice. I was like, you guys, you missed the point. She's incredibly talented. Her voice is still haunt me.
Some people think, since it's Konami, some people think the person who sings the Metal Gear songs also sings the Silent Hill songs.
Oh, really?
You gotta set him straight. Yeah, Donna Burke, who does like Snake Eater and
which is amazing.
Oh wow!
And whatever the song from the 5th Metal Gear is called. People think that she did the Silent Hill stuff, I guess, because it's all Konami, and she sings in it. Like almost every other video game, she is the singer. Like you would be right, but not this one.
That's another one I'd love for somebody just to play and I watch. Metal Gear is something I'm also very into, but it's not something I'm good at playing.
We were just talking about Metal Gear at work.
Maybe now as an adult, I could.
No. Metal Gear didn't grow up.
5, maybe?
Yeah, 5 is just a normal video game, but the other ones are so weird.
Like I remember playing 3 and like really trying.
Trying to like it, or?
Well, no, I liked it a lot. I was not... I don't have the aptitude for it. It's not my style, I think.
Okay.
I would just use the tranquilizer gun.
Yeah.
I found that a lot more satisfying to do than actually shoot people.
There's always the option to just like fight and shoot people, but they make it pretty hard because they regenerate forever. They keep coming into the areas that you're in if you stay there. So there is a way to play it like that. And it's mostly, I just turned it down to the easiest setting and did that. So I just wanted the story. But I think the stealth in those games is bad unless you've been playing it since the first one and you're like extremely good at it. I know people enjoy it. I just could not go there.
I always thought I wasn't meant to be stealthy in video games because of that game. Because of Metal Gear Solid 3. And then, more recently, Horizon Zero Dawn. I was like, oh no, actually, I really enjoy this when a game is meant to be played this way and when it's done well.
Have you ever tried playing Thief?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Heather really enjoyed that game. I watched her play it. It's all stealth. She really enjoys stealth games, which is why I suggested Assassin's Creed 4, but she was like, the controls are too funky.
I played all the Dishonored games last year. And those are kind of an evolution of Thief in a way.
Do you recommend Dishonored?
Yeah, they were all great.
I really wanted to play it just from like the visuals.
Yeah.
I always figured I'd find it on sale and then pick it up and play through them all.
It actually progressively gets better as you go. So
throughout the game or through The series.
Through the series, is 1 is like pretty good, 2 is great, and the Death of the Outsider DLC is like should be treated as its own standalone game, really, and it is probably the best of the series.
Okay.
Yeah, it's totally worth playing, and they're all short-ish. They're all like 8 to 10 hours.
Okay,
that's not bad now. Yeah.
Okay, it's always good to have some extra games in the middle. Right now, I'm like playing RPG series in order, and then like playing Final Fantasy 14. So it's nice to have a little break in there. That's not.
Are you playing 14 because it's in the series? Like, is that part of your marathon?
Well, it was always going to be.
But you skipped ahead.
I skipped ahead because we'd finished 10, and then we took a break and played Chrono Trigger, and now I'm halfway through Chrono Cross.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was going to go back to 10 too.
Mm-hmm.
And then 12, and then I think at some point during Final Fantasy 14 I'll take a break and then finish, because there's a lot of Final Fantasy 12 stuff later in the game. Like you get to actually go through Ivalice, and I've never played through all of 12, and I've never played Tactics, and so I'm making myself
12.
Stop and play, because I want to give 12 a chance, a better chance.
That's too bad. I'm disappointed. I thought that you had just stopped after 13 and were like, okay, I'm going to play 300 hours of Final Fantasy 14 and then I can continue.
No. It's hard because when you play all of Final Fantasy 10, it can be difficult to jump immediately into 10 too, and commit to it. I love 10 too, but it can be hard to keep the momentum. So I was like, well, here's a good time to like stop and come back.
I've never finished 10. I haven't played 10
I've never played 10.
Until I played 12, I thought that the series just went bad in the middle of 10.
No.
Like after you walk past that waterfall, that's the end of Final Fantasy, the series.
No.
There's nothing good after that. That's what I thought for many years. But I played 12 and it was good. And I heard 10-2 was good. I know some of the 13s have their fans.
I really hope you go back and finish 10.
And 15 was good. I
really hope you go back. Tina, play 10. What are you doing?
You remember that joke between me and my wife?
Oh yeah, there's a big thing back and forth where Tina says
that
her wife played 10, and her wife says that she played 10. And it's this big. I told him at the
nobody can play 10.
No.
Her wife
played it.
Parallel universe where
Heather played it. I swear she played it. I watched her play it. And she's like, no, I never played it. You were the one who played it. You played all the Blitzball. And I was like, no, because I remember you bitching and moaning how bad Blitzball was. So it's this ongoing joke between us. Like, neither one of us played it, but one of us played it.
I need you to play it, Tina. You can borrow one of my many copies of
we have copies of it. So
okay.
I need to go back and play 10.
It's probably one of the up there as one of the games that people just buy over and over and play like most of, but not all of, like Resident Evil 4 or something.
God, I love Resident Evil 4, but I have 2 copies of the HD collection
master,
and it was getting time to play it because we'd finished 9. And I was like, well, let me look at the comparisons of graphics as if it even really matters. And I was like, it matters enough. And so then I bought the PS4 version. It looks nice. It really does. I really recommend it. I didn't think it was that ending still gets me from the first. It was the first Final Fantasy game I ever beat. And I remember beating it at 1 a.m. and just bawling my eyes out, and then loading my save and playing through the ending again.
Oh, wow.
Because I couldn't record it then. I had like a VHS recorder that I recorded Final Fantasy 9 cutscenes on, But it wasn't. I didn't have just like YouTube to go look it up.
Right.
So it's like, nope, doing it again. Beat it, and I did again this time too. I felt it coming, and I was like, well, here it is, me crying over this. Just like with most Final Fantasy games, just like crying the whole time. That's fine.
I played that in the Resident Evil remake over a summer. I remember it was like, let's get into video games. It was like, I had mostly been playing like Metroid and Mario and Zelda, and this was my like mature games. Let's see what mature games are about.
What are the mature gamers into?
Oh man, speaking of Resident Evil, did you play the recently released remake of 2?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's very good.
Can you come over and play it for me?
It's really scary.
I downloaded the demo.
Oh.
And then I ran into like the first thing and got scared and then deleted it.
That's a bit much.
Which is basically what I did for when I mean the PlayStation Resident Evil 2. I own that. And I played it, got to the first zombie, I was like, no.
Done.
I can't. And it just turned it off. I need to be able to play. I can play 4. I can play that style. I just can't play the original scary one.
That's fair. The encounters with the zombies in those games make you feel appropriately awkward because of the controls. It's like overwhelming.
Oh, Nash villains. Hey, Raph. Oh, Elliot said crying during all of Final Fantasy 2 for different reasons.
Because it's bad. I've always heard that game is super bad.
It's so bad, but I wear it like a badge of honor now. Like I beat this awful, hard, unrelenting game. I beat it, and I'll forever feel a little bit of pride for that. Like, I don't know. I have a whole new trend of like starting games and actually beating them, which is amazing because so many RPGs have just gone unfinished forever. Any Tales game ever will never be finished by me.
That's too real.
Any Atelier game will absolutely never be finished by me. Like, at least these Final Fantasies, I'm finally doing it. And 14, we're on level 55 now, so like,
damn,
I'm a success story. No,
I'm in the middle of like 3 Tales games, and I can't bring myself to complete them.
You know what? That's actually not technically playing games. If you're in the middle of 3 games and you're not completing any of them, that's not considered playing video games.
It's just so hard.
It's a Tales game. Stop picking them up, Tina.
If you turn off a game and you're not picking it up for at least a week, you're not playing that game.
Time for you to play Final Fantasy 14, Tina.
Okay, after this chat, I will go to my PS4 and load it. Look at your face. You're like,
this is my whole life now. I was like, I won't play MMOs again. And then look.
You totally did.
The Final Fantasy music is great. Today I fought a King Moogle. So, I mean, life is good. He had his own theme song.
Yeah, I hadn't played one with Moogles in it for a while. So it was really good that the first thing that happens in Final Fantasy 14 is that a Moogle comes into the cart you're riding in and like takes an entire bottle of liquor to the head and then just leaves. It's the first thing that happens in that game.
That's my game.
God, it's so good. Like, oh man. Yes. It's not really a spoiler, but there's a character that shows up in a lot of Final Fantasies.
Okay.
Who I got to see.
I probably know who that is.
And
I mean,
great.
that's several characters.
I don't know if it's like a spoiler.
It's this one specific character.
Well, it's this one specific character. He shows up a lot in all the games. There's
Every
only that
time.
one guy. You know, he's in it.
Yeah.
He's great.
But it's always a surprise who he is.
Okay.
Oh, no, not that one. Of course there's a Sid.
Not that one.
Oh, okay. Because I was
there's a Sid,
I'm like,
there's a
you're talking about
wedge.
Sid?
That's normal. No, that's normal.
Right.
And Sid is like
So you must be talking about Mickey Mouse.
Elliot said he
You're
liked
not talking about
swords.
Oh, Sora.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's really good. I saw him. I was like, oh my god. I think playing through all the Final Fantasy really helped too because there's so many little tidbits. Like when you get the Magitech armor, which first of all, there's Magitech. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And it plays like the theme from 6, which is really cool.
Yep.
Which
get that.
I'm so glad that I finally fulfilled my promise to you.
Yeah. You mean when we said that you should play Final Fantasy 6 and I'll play Suikoden 2, and I played Suikoden 1 and 2 within a year of that promise, and you never played 6 until now.
I mean, I played it. I just didn't finish it.
You know, I was thinking about Suikoden because that popped up on my dash where I was playing the first one, and I was like, oh yeah, Butts McDool. I forgot I named it that.
You need to play 2. Oh, so we're getting close to time. But anyways, I'll go and wrap it up. Matt, we really liked having you. And if this time around next month, you want to come hang out with us again and talk video games? Maybe we'll have all played something else by then.
Maybe Tina will have played the Tales games.
I
quit calling me out there.
I played them a little bit.
I need
that's almost worse.
I know.
I own them. You just said that. Didn't you say that you made this show to replace the show where people talked about games that they just bought and didn't play?
Shut up.
Hey,
we're better than them.
Opening it up, putting it in, and getting at least like 30 hours in is playing.
I'm telling you, we could pick up stuff from either Rob and Omar's collection. They would never know.
No, they would never notice.
Yeah. I mean, Omar should give me all of his Suicune stuff. Why does he even have it? Let's be honest.
Okay, Rob.
But I do think I'm going to play Baten Kaitos next month. I think that's a plan.
You should. Yeah.
People talk about the music from that a lot.
Yeah.
It's good.
So yeah, thanks everybody for joining in. We'll be here this time. So basically the plan is every other Thursday, Tina will have a live show. It'll either be about anime or it'll be back and forth. So anime and video games every other week. And Alex, we must be talking about Greg. We are talking about Greg from Final Fantasy 14. But please join in again. And we're still working out the names. So let us know if you like it or not. If we change it back to Video Game Live, we can. Right. We try to be clever. We should not be able to have naming rights of anything.
No, because it's 5 minutes before and we're like, level 2. That's what, yeah, absolutely. Power Up. Great name. Ship it.
But yeah, and so please hit that like button, comment below if you're watching this video later, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and just keep an eye out for future videos. If you have suggestions of like video game talks you'd like to see us do or video game videos, let us know. And time for the catchphrase. Remember, if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint. See you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Now I hit the end broadcast button, and I don't know when it ends. And we all sit here together.
Awkwardly for a second.